Hezbollah has published another video of what it says are aerial images of strategic sites within Israel. The Lebanon-based group says it shows military centers in Haifa, among other areas. It released a similar video on Tuesday showing other sensitive sites. Hezbollah has promised support for the people of Gaza. Its leader, Hassan Nasrallah, is warning Israel no one will be spared if all-out war escalates. And for more on this, let's go live to Baig in Rmaych in southern Lebanon. So first of all, Asad, what are the sensitive sites which are featured in this video?
Well, those sensitive sites consist of military bases, one of which is the Hakaria complex. Now, that houses the headquarters of the Ministry of Security, the General Staff, and other military commands. But what's also interesting about this latest footage that we've seen that's intertwined with Hezbollah's leader's speech, Hassan Nasrallah, as well as the footage, is that they've also highlighted oil reservoirs, electricity stations, as well as satellite bases, as well as listed maritime coordinates for 3 gas extraction points. So that's interesting because what Hezbollah is doing now is pointing out to Israel that they have highlighted not just military sites, but also infrastructure. And in the event of an all-out war, that they're able or could be able to strike these. And that's a warning, really. As we're hearing this language of a possible escalation or fears of an escalation, Hezbollah is sending warnings to Israel saying, not only can we infiltrate your airspace, we have footage, we've highlighted targets, and in the event of an all-out war, it's that they are saying that they could target these locations.
In addition to that drone footage, reports about another drone actually evading the air defense systems and hitting a target inside Israel this morning. Tell us what we know about that.
Yeah, this is not the first time. So Hezbollah say that they have hit Beit Hilal, and this isn't the first time. Over the last week or so, and as this conflict here in the southern Lebanon border has continued, there have been instances of Hezbollah drones, as you say, evading Israeli defenses and managing to hit their targets. Just the other day, we saw another drone with the footage from the drone actually going in to strike an Israeli position. And what this tells us is that this isn't the same Hezbollah as 2006, when the last time there was a war. This is Hezbollah that is much more sophisticated. It has more weapons and capabilities, and they're actually showing that now. Again, daily strikes going across the border here, and in this latest strike, they've managed to infiltrate and evade Israeli defenses, again hitting targets. But this conflict that's taking place here is within certain unwritten rules. They're striking military targets, but the warning really is that if this escalates, and all it takes is one miscalculation to escalate, that Hezbollah will be able to hit targets much more wider and broader inside Israel.
All right, thanks so much. Baig there. Let's bring in now Sultan Barakat. He's a professor of public policy at Hamad Bin Khalifa University. Joins us from York in the UK. Good to have you with us. So this is another incident of Hezbollah releasing drone footage. A clear message being sent here?
Well, it's clearly a message to deter Israel from implementing what the rhetoric has been about in the last few days, and that is a full-scale war against Lebanon, and in particular to hit Beirut hard in order to push Hezbollah back. Now, I don't think the footage in itself is incredibly significant. I mean, if you go on Google Earth, you'll be able to establish a similar view of what exists within Israel. The message here is that they've got sufficient intelligence to identify those targets, and they know that these are of strategic importance. Also, I think there is an implicit message that Hezbollah is going to avoid civilian targets. All those targets that they've highlighted are military or strategic targets. It's just to warn Israel that they are ready and they can go as far as they can reach. And in fact, it has been a well-established fact for a long time, and Israel is fully aware of the capability that Hezbollah owns at the moment, and it is much more advanced than they used to have back in 2006.
Sultan, let's talk about what's going on in the West Bank as well, with reports of overcrowding so bad in Israeli prisons that they're actually releasing some Palestinian detainees to make way for others. What is the policy here? Is it to get as many Palestinians through the prison system to break the will of the occupied people?
It's to break the will, but it's also to be able to interrogate directly as many Palestinians as possible. Israel is desperate for on-the-ground intelligence. And as you know, that was the main weakness that they've suffered from on the 7th of October. And, Hamas in particular within Gaza was capable of rooting out a lot of those so-called spies on the ground that used to serve the Israelis. Now they're desperate for information, and the best way to try and extract some of that information is to capture as many and as widely as possible Palestinians and have them face in a face-to-face interrogation. But like every country, they must have a capacity. I mean, they've rounded up more than 8,000 Palestinians in the last 8 months in prisons that were already overcrowded, with more than 15,000 Palestinians already in and out of those prisons. So yes, it could be the fact that they've just run out of space and they have to release people out. And unfortunately, what we see now from the footage that came out of one of those prisoners that was released in Gaza is the level of torture that's been employed exceeds all acceptable norms, if you like, of the international humanitarian law. And that, in my assessment, is really to do with the fact that the Israelis do not hold the international law as a reference point, but they keep going back to the Americans and sometimes to the British, referring to how they've conducted themselves during the so-called war on terror. So they see that as their baseline rather than what the international community expects of them.
And perhaps linked to that, we've had reports from credible organizations like the United Nations, 7 United Nations experts on the 19th of February talking about sexual assault, rape. In one case, a woman kept in a cage in the rain and in the cold without food. How widespread are reports of abuses becoming when it comes to Palestinians held in Israeli detention?
It is a long-established practice from the Israeli side against the Palestinians. They know very well what the honor concept means to the Palestinian, particularly when it comes to the honor of a female. And they know how to exploit that very well, not just in rape and so on, but threatening to rape and threatening a female in front of her male relatives, husband, children, and so on. They know that that can break the morale and can be used, has been used by them for a long time to extract information.
All right, thanks so much, Sultan Barakat from Hamad Bin Khalifa University.
Make sure to subscribe to our channel to get the latest news from Al Jazeera.